Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zoom into Books. We're here with award-winning author Len Eckhaus, and I'm going to turn it over to Len now. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Len Eckhaus. I live in Las Vegas, and I want to tell you a little about myself, my background, and read you my book. So let me start with, in 1967, I was 25 years old, and I was married to my childhood sweetheart, Linda, and I had a job that I wasn't crazy about in terms of the future it might have, and I began to hear on the radio, usually in the car, ads saying, learn to program the fabulous IBM computers. And back then, none of us really knew much about what computers really were, but it sounded exciting to me. And I applied for a job at IBM, and lo and behold, I got it. 3 years later, in 1970, I had the opportunity to work at TRW Credit Data, which was the largest online credit bureau in the world at the time, still is. And I was the manager of their Eastern region data centers, including computer centers in New York City, Detroit, Buffalo, and Syracuse. About a year later, I moved to California with TRW, and eventually I left that job to manage a computer center for the Los Angeles County Superintendent of Schools. In 1980, I had been managing computer centers for 10 years, and I realized there was a need for a forum where data center managers like I was could get together, learn from each other, share experiences, and there wasn't anything available. So I started a company, and I started an organization that I called AFCOM, which originally meant Association for Computer Operations Management, a for-profit association for people who manage large-scale data centers. I helped them by publishing an award-winning magazine on how to manage a computer center and holding educational conferences and trade shows. Eventually, through that organization, I represented over 4,000 of the largest computer centers in the world, and I had managers from over 30 different countries attending the conferences I held. In 2014, my daughter Jill took over that company, and I retired. Retired, but I wasn't done. In 2017, I got involved in a whole new venture. With absolutely no experience in the field, I co-founded a music publishing company, a record label, excuse me, and released an album called Rendezvous that we recorded at the Capitol Record Studio in Los Angeles. It featured the singer Clint Holmes, the Count Basie Orchestra, and other well-known jazz singers. The album made it onto all the record charts and got a lot of radio play. And in fact, it did so well that we ended up receiving 2 Grammy nominations, and I'm really proud of that. In 2018, a year later, I published my autobiography, My Journey, Lessons I've Learned Along the Way, the Memoirs of Leonard I. Eckhaus. And I wrote that after discussions with Pulitzer Prize winner Alex Haley, the author of Roots. Bringing his personal history to life inspired me to do the same for my children, my grandchildren, and those yet unborn. I wanted them to understand more about where they came from and who they are than I didn't have that information about. I only go back to my grandparents. In 2013, my youngest grandchild, now 7 years old, was born. The other 2 grandchildren I had were already grown up. They were in their 20s. And having a new baby in the family really rejuvenated me. It began a whole new phase in my life, exciting. That's when I began writing for children. I wrote short stories, poems, things that I thought children would like. So with a lot of encouragement from family and friends, last year I published one of those stories called Grinza's Orchard, about a gypsy girl born in 1890 and how she followed her dreams growing up in a little village in Romania. And that brings me to my latest book, If I Were a Pony. This is a poem I wrote a few years ago about the love and special bond between a young boy and his pony as they grow up, as it told from the pony's perspective. The reason I wanted to publish it now is best said in the book's dedication, which I'm going to read to you. I wanted to read you one of the reason I had this published now is told in the dedication in the book. I dedicate this book to my very youngest granddaughter, Hannah Jordan Yaos, who came into my life when my other grandchildren were all grown up, and I thought I'd never have another. Hannah, I was 70 years old when you were born, and you brought a renewed spirit and vitality to my life. Thank you for being such a pretty, bright, talented, and caring child. You've inspired me to think young again. I had forgotten the special joys of being a grandfather. I have loved every minute of singing to you, coloring with you, holding your hand as we cross the street, building Legos, and everything else we've done together since you were born. Hannah, this story is for you. Here's the story. If I were a pony and you a young boy, you would bring me an apple and I'd eat it with joy. If I were a pony, I'd take you for a ride, or the hills and the valleys, together we'd glide. If I were a pony, I'd see you each day. I'd wait in the barn until you came to play. If I were a pony, when you came around, you would be there to feed me and then brush me down. If I were a pony and you were sad, I'd nuzzle your face and wipe away the bad. If I were a pony, you would bring your best friend and together we'd ride to the rainbow's end. If I were a pony and you a young man, you would share all your dreams. You would tell me your plans. And if I were a pony and you a grown man, you'd still come for a ride like when we began. If I were a pony and too old to ride, when you came to visit, I'd have tears in my eyes. If I were a pony when my days were near done, I'd remember the rides we took in the sun, how we sprinted and raced and galloped so fast, as if somehow we knew it just might not last. I'd remember how we frolicked without any fears and the magic we shared down through the years. And I'd remember these times through the tears in my eyes, with a sadness I'd feel that I couldn't disguise. Yes, whenever I'd think of those days gone by, I would still feel a special joy inside. For if I were a pony, I'd be the happiest pony there ever was. The end. That's my little story about the pony. I've been very fortunate. This has won the a Mom's Choice Award, and I'm very happy with that. I'm going to, if you want more information on anything I've done, you can go to my website, booksbylen.com. And after today, we're going to have a Christmas event that you'll be able to get information on. I'll make sure you have it that you might want to tune into. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like to ask me, please feel free to do so.
Lynn, we do have a question. Did you have a pony as a child?
No, I never did. In fact, I was only on a pony once in my life at a carnival ride, but I was on a camel once. That was quite an experience.
The illustrations of your book are quite beautiful. How did you find your illustrator?
You know what I found? I searched online, and I got input from maybe 40 different illustrators, and I asked them all for samples. And I'm so glad I found the illustrator I did, because she was able to project exactly what I thought the pony should look like, the boy and the pony, and the feeling I wanted to get. Stacy Hummel, she's wonderful.
Well, it's a beautiful book. We have had quite a few people join us late on Facebook. So would you please read the book again for them?
Sure. Hold on. From the beginning. If I were a pony and you a young boy, you a young lad, you would bring me an apple and I'd eat it with joy. If I were a pony, I'd take you for a ride, o'er the hills and the valleys, together we'd glide. If I were a pony, I'd see you each day. I'd wait in the barn until you came to play. If I were a pony, when you came around, you would be there to feed me and then brush me down. If I were a pony and you were sad, I'd nuzzle your face and wipe away the bad. If I were a pony, you would bring your best friend, and together we'd ride to the rainbow's end. If I were a pony and you a young man, you would share all your dreams. You would tell me your plans. If I were a pony and you a grown man, you'd still come for a ride like when we began. If I were a pony and too old to ride, when you came to visit, I'd have tears in my eyes. If I were a pony, when my days were near done, I'd remember the rides we took in the sun, how we sprinted and raced and galloped so fast, as if somehow we knew it just might not last. I'd remember how we frolicked without any fears and the magic we shared down through the years. And I'd remember these times through the tears in my eyes, with a sadness I'd feel that I couldn't disguise. Yet whenever I'd think of those days gone by, I would still feel a special joy inside. For if I were a pony, I'd be the happiest pony there ever was. The end.
Thank you, Lynn. You have a few fans on Facebook. One of them is Dream of Denver. She says hello.
Oh, hello.
And she loves your book.
Ah, she's a special lady, very special.
So before we started, you were telling me an interesting story about how you met your wife.
Well, I met my wife when we were 12 years old. Actually, another girl had asked me to a 7th grade prom. I didn't want to go, so I said to her, I'd love to go, but I don't know how to dance, I'm sorry. And she said, oh, that's no problem. I'll teach you how to dance. So I was sort of stuck. I went to her house to learn how to dance. And she, when I rang the doorbell to go in, she came out and she said, we're going to my friend's house down the street. And we went to Linda's house, who is now my wife of 58 years. That's how I met her. And we got married when we were 19 years old, and just a couple of kids. We didn't know what the future was going to be. And we just went on our life. Linda has always been the breeze beneath my wings. Whenever I've wanted to do in my life, she has always said, let's do it. And here we are today, many years later.
Oh, that's a beautiful love story. We also have someone interested in your Grammy nominations. Did you attend the Grammy Award?
No, I did not. I have the nomination material that I received hanging in my office, but no, I did not get to the Grammy Awards. That was a pretty exciting thing. Grammys are big time. I'd never been in the music business before, but I did know how to market things and how to find people who could get us record play and we got on all the charts. It was kind of exciting, and we had a great album that really made the difference.
That's fantastic. How did you get interested in producing this?
Clint Holmes, who is the singer on the album, and he's wonderful. He's a friend, a very good friend, and he lives here in Las Vegas. He's had a wonderful career. In the 1970s, he had a hit song that sold 2.5 million copies, and we're very good friends. And another good friend of his, he and I decided that we might be able to, we actually thought maybe we could put together something that could get a Grammy. And we did. It was a lot of fun and an interesting experience. I wouldn't do it again, but it was very time consuming, but it was good. I started all this when I was 75 years old, so I'm having fun.
Oh, it's never too late. That's
Never.
Cool. Have you investigated film possibilities?
Actually, I would love to, you're making me laugh because one of my daughters said, well, you got the Grammy, you had a successful business, you've written books, what's next, a movie? But actually the book I have out right before this one, Grinza's Orchard, I've been told by a lot of people would make a wonderful either animated or regular movie. And I am interested in that. I haven't had the time to really pursue it.
Well, you've certainly had an illustrious career and know lots of things about a lot of subjects.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you here on Zoom into Books. We don't have any more questions at the moment.
I really want to thank you, Kathy, for giving me this opportunity and for being here with me to help me through it.
Sure thing. And everyone who's watching on Facebook, please join us. You'll be able to see Lynn again next week as part of our virtual Christmas gift extravaganza. You'll be able to get autographed books. You can see Lynn on our Zoom into Books YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that. It's free. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today.